Welcome, everyone. My name is Stella, and thank you for tuning in to Bibi and Yaya, where you will hear real-life stories which people have written to us, detailing their life experiences, feelings, emotions, and reactions along the way. The people who write to us share their stories in hopes of connecting with others who may be able to give advice, such as yourself. Please share your comments, thoughts, and solutions below for each life story. Here on Bibi and Yaya, we will also share our opinions with the hopes that we can help those who share their stories with us. If you have a story to tell, please send us an email in the description box below. And don't forget to like Bibi and Yaya by hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing to this channel so you can stay up to date with these very personal stories. And by subscribing, it helps us to bring you new life stories and adventures every week. Today, I will be sharing two stories with you. The first is from Suzanne, who finds herself in the middle of a love triangle. Yes, she loves one brother and is engaged to him, but unexpectedly falls in love with the other brother, his twin. So how does Suzanne navigate through this seemingly sticky situation? How does she come to grips with the love affair in between two brothers? The second story is about Jeannie, a young lady who feels her beauty infringes upon her abilities to be accepted more for her accomplishments and talents than her outside beauty. She tries various ways and means to find and develop her true self. She goes through various scenarios, trying desperately to have others know her for who she is inside and not to judge her based solely on her beautiful appearance. But when she does this, she discovers for herself that her inner beauty and outward beauty can coexist harmoniously. And now, here is Suzanne's story. I'm Suzanne, and 6 months ago I was engaged to a man named Brandon, who had a twin brother named Charlie, and both of the men were great. I loved Brandon romantically, and I loved Charlie like he was my brother, my family. Brandon, Charlie, and I would do almost everything together. However, I noticed that Charlie was normally fairly quiet and reserved, but I assumed that was just because that was his personality. Actually, I proposed to Brandon 6 months ago, and he said yes. One day, after I had made plans with the brothers to head to the mall, Brandon unexpectedly canceled, saying he had gotten sick. So Charlie and I went to the mall together. We began talking and having fun with each other. It seemed like Charlie was less withdrawn that day, and he was a lot of fun to talk to. After a few hours of aimlessly wandering around the mall, just window shopping, Charlie stopped suddenly. So I did also. I asked him what was wrong, and he asked if I could keep a secret. I told him of course I could keep a secret and that he could tell me anything. Charlie confessed to me that he was in love with me. I felt really bad for Charlie and started to hang out with him more often, just one-on-one without Brandon. After a few short months, I had sort of fallen out of love with Brandon, even though we were engaged and I was now more interested in Charlie. One day, while it was just Charlie and I hanging out, walking to a restaurant, out of nowhere, Charlie suddenly grabbed my face and started to kiss me. I couldn't believe this, but I also really enjoyed it, so I didn't stop him. Charlie then proposed to me on the spot. I wasn't sure what to say. I really wanted to say yes, but I was still engaged to Brandon. I then decided I was most likely going to break up with Brandon soon anyway. So I said yes, and that meant I was now engaged to two men at once. Oh my gosh. Not only that, but they were twins. Charlie and I kept our engagement a secret for months, right up until last week when I finally told Brandon I was calling off the wedding. I was going to marry Charlie instead. I'm currently writing this as we drive away with only our suitcase in our trunk and no destination in mind. We're going on an adventure to find the most beautiful town in America to get married there. And we might even live on the road, who knows? We're not sure yet, but one thing I know for sure is that wherever Charlie goes, I will follow him. Well, it seems as though Suzanne has really had a change of heart concerning her love for Brandon and Charlie. She thought she loved Brandon, but her true feelings and emotions were tied to Charlie. Do you feel sorry for Brandon? What would you say to any one of these people in the story? How do you think Suzanne handled this sticky situation? Scroll down and leave your comment or opinion. And now, let's begin Jeannie's story. Beauty is her nemesis. Or is it? Hi, my name is Jeannie, and what I'm about to tell you might sound strange, but I wish I was ugly. I am what many people consider to be beautiful. I know that might sound a bit pretentious, but my experience has led me to believe that this is how most people perceive me to be at first glance. It all started when I was a baby. A lot of people would come up to my mother and comment on how beautiful her child looked. Of course, it seems quite normal to compliment on a baby's appearance. After all, who doesn't love babies? But that attention did not wane over time. When I was 3, my mom was asked by a friend who works in show business if she would be willing to enter me into a children's beauty pageant. As I grew older and hit puberty, the attention I received only increased. Older boys started approaching me on the street to get to know me. Girls would say mean things about me behind my back. And one of my aunts even remarked on how I shouldn't concentrate too much on my studies because I could get by on my looks alone. When I entered high school, I developed a love for writing and studying algebra. And I excelled at sports, but nobody seemed to care at all about my interests or grades. I was already stereotyped as a blonde with more beauty than brains, which was far from the actual truth. All of this made me feel so distressed and anxious. I developed an insecurity about my good looks. I started to alienate myself from those around me. I became withdrawn and introverted. I changed my dressing and started to wear loose clothes, ones that wouldn't accentuate my curves or my chest. Another problem with being too pretty is that people develop preconceived notions about your personality and character. Many of the boys who talked to me were only interested in my appearance. They did not seem to care or even comprehend how smart I was, or that my hobbies were different than going out to parties or hanging out late at night with friends. I was also the envy of the girls in my class, who would gossip about me and spread disparaging rumors that would further hurt my reputation. Due to my unsociable behavior and the way my classmates felt about me, I didn't have many close friends. And because people around me were quick to discard my interests and ambitions, I too, in turn, felt that maybe I wasn't good enough to pursue my dreams. And so, I decided that since the world was so bent on treating me as nothing more than a pretty face, I would act the part and play to people's expectations of what I should be and not what I am. I started wearing skimpy clothes, and when boys tried to flirt with me, I flirted back. I began wearing makeup and lipstick. I also joined in with the other girls when they would gossip. I fell behind in my studies, as I would often skip class, and my grades suffered for it. Doing all of this did not make me happy, but at this point, I was so tired of trying to prove myself to others that I just thought, why bother with any of this? If this is how I will always be treated, then maybe I should just act accordingly. One day in my sophomore year, I was invited to a party at one of the popular students' houses. Almost every other underclassman was present. I picked out the most alluring dress I owned. And as soon as I arrived, all eyes were on me. While I did look spectacular in my new dress, it also wasn't something that I was known to wear. So many heads turned in my direction. But at the same time, my insecurity resurfaced, and I realized that this is not who I am. As I turned around to leave, one of the boys came up behind me and grabbed my butt. That was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I broke down and started crying uncontrollably. Everyone present started snickering or whispering to each other while looking at me. "Don't stare at me," I said out loud with my eyes swollen and my body shaking. I ran out of there and drove back home. I didn't come out of my room for 3 days. But after several days, I begrudgingly went back to school. I feared what my classmates would say when they saw me after the scandal I had created. I was a bundle of nerves on my first day back, after a 3-day hiatus since the incident had occurred. But I met with the school's guidance counselor, who was very gentle and receptive. I opened up to her about my problem. I told her it might sound egotistic or atypical to say that I was too pretty, and that was the source of all my anguish. But she replied that it wasn't strange at all for me to be feeling this way. She said we could work on ways for me to be more comfortable in my own skin. And though it may take a long time, I would eventually learn to love myself as a person. Thankfully, things have gradually started looking up for me. I've gotten back to my studies and my grades have returned to how they were before. I've learned how to deal with my anxiety in a more positive way, and I no longer feel as perturbed by unwanted comments on my appearance. I even joined the literature club and the debate team so that I can gain more confidence in myself. And I've made a few friends there as well. There's still a long road ahead of me when it comes to dealing with my vulnerability and self-doubt, but for now, I am happy with the path I've chosen. As a beautiful woman, it seems as though Jeannie learned and experienced a lot about herself along the way as she tried to fit into other people's preconceived ideas about who she is as a person. Even though she succumbed to the pressure at times, in the end, she was able to realize and remember who she is as a whole person. Good for you, Jeannie. We thank Suzanne and Jeannie for sharing their stories with us today. Hopefully both ladies are happy and well. And please remember to like and subscribe to Bibi and Yaya, where you will hear people's personal real-life stories and their life experiences. Also, you can read people's comments, solutions, and opinions relating to the real-life situations which people share with us. Also, if you have a personal story which you would like to share with us, please send an email in the description box below. We'd be happy to hear from you. And don't forget, you are welcome to share your thoughts and any advice you may have to those who write in. So please remember to share them below. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next time here on Bibi and Yaya. Bye for now.